welcome to Seymour's World. I'm Seymour Kazimirski at ThinkTech Hawaii. Welcome to a wonderful show we have for you today. I do want to make a little comment about last week's show with Bobby Pelegi. We all know that he is one of these record producers and agents and somebody who wants to help the music industry in Hawaii. As a result of what Bobby has done, the connection between Japan and the Fukushima nuclear disaster is now becoming very, very well known. And our music, especially his song about the rainbow, is going national and international as well. So Bobby, I'm sure you're watching this. I just want you to know that everybody absolutely loved it. For today, I have two wonderful guests, John Vierra and Eric Lagrimas. Did I say that right, Eric?
Absolutely.
And these guys are with a program for University of Hawaii called the Mele program. And how did I get to know you guys? You have done something for me. I notice you're both wearing your Make 'em Smile buttons. Thank you. And your Make 'em Smile wristbands. My God, you're very well equipped today. I like that. We started thinking about doing a CD. And Leah Bernstein, who I think is on your board, said to me, Leah's with Mountain Apple Records, and she said to me, Seymour, if you're going to produce the CD, you've got to go to University of Hawaii. I said, what is University of Hawaii have to do with producing a CD? And she said, when you see the production studio at the Mele program at HCC, Honolulu Community College, you will not believe it. And I said, really? And that's when I came down and I met you guys. And you have graciously given us a huge amount of time and studio and producers and guys to help out on making the CD. And you're producing the CD for us, Eric, which is wonderful. We really appreciate it. And that Make 'em Smile CD is going to every patient that listens to a Make 'em Smile musician in Hawaii.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Then we have, as I think I mentioned to you, an entree into the Good Morning America show that wants to sell the CDs as a fundraiser for every hospital here in Hawaii. So we couldn't ask for better. You guys have become a catalyst for Make 'em Smile. And I just want to thank you before we go into what Mele does. And because of you, I think Make 'em Smile is going to the next level, which is very important. So Eric, tell us a little bit about you first.
Well, Seymour, thank you first of all for having us here in the program. And my background as a professional in Hawaii's music industry started when I moved here. I'm actually born in Guam, and my father was in the U.S. Navy, so I actually traveled between Guam and California, eventually settling in Hawaii in 85, and I just fell in love with music. Although going through school, I actually never really saw myself being a performing musician. So when I actually was about 10th grade in high school, I realized I want to be the guy behind the scenes. I want to be the producer. I want to be the engineer. I want to make the stuff that happens. You know, I didn't want to be the star. I want to help make the stars. And I was looking for a program in the University of Hawaii system, and there was nothing. So I didn't want to be a composer or a music teacher. So I actually ventured off to Boston, Massachusetts to enroll in Berklee College of Music and majored in music business. And after completing my 4-year degree, just basically packed up my car and moved to New York City to work in the industry.
Wow.
Straight from the top. And worked in New York for about 6 years and eventually found my way back in Hawaii in the fall of 2004. And from there, worked for a local record company, made some connections in the industry, and eventually found myself at the Mele program in 2007 as their first instructor for the music and entertainment learning experience.
Wow. Well, I guess the first question I have for you, you look like you're 17 years old. And of course, with your hair, does the hair come from Guam? Or
no, the hair is something that I've developed over time in the industry. Seeing guys with red hair, you know. Well, and I figured I have to have my own style. And I think this style suited me very well with a lot of different compliments here and there. And
well, Eric,
it stuck.
You know I have my style too, right? This is my style. You want to call it. I will take whatever you can give me. But that is pretty amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, you do truly look like you're 17 or 18, so I'm sure everybody's asked you that. The first time I met you, I thought you were one of the students. And when John, you told me that this is Eric and he is one of the instructors, I said, oh, okay, but I really didn't believe it, so it's great. We're going to talk about the beginning of the Mele program. But John, introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Seymour, for having Eric and I. You know, it's pretty awesome how Eric and I's story are similar but yet different. You know, I played sports my whole life through high school. I had an opportunity to play baseball in college, a small college. But at the time in my senior year of high school, I was actually an Amway distributor because I had this entrepreneurial spirit. I wanted to do something. And since high school, I always thought, you know, I want to go away and learn a trade or a skill on the mainland to bring back home. So that was my mission, and so I was in Amroyd. A lot of my friends called me. I would knock on their doors, and they
No
pretend they're not
kidding.
home. Yeah,
Wow.
I would be drawing in my suit, drawing circles on the whiteboard in people's living rooms for their parents.
Oh,
So that got me that itch. You know, I kind of like the feeling of this. You know, so. But with that, I hung out. I started playing music, and I started playing Hawaiian music, and hanging out at parties, events, and really playing and sort of entertaining, I guess. And that really got me to think more about music. But along those lines, I knew that music was not necessarily at that time a career path that I could make sense of or that I could navigate. I was just clueless. I just was having a good time playing my ukulele and singing. So I actually went to a small college here called Heald College. And most people think Heald is just for nursing,
Right.
but they had a technology program. And so it was computer networking and electronics. So I said, let me give that a shot. That's things that I like. I like computers. I like electronics. After that, I ended up getting a job at Intel Corporation in Arizona. So Intel was giving me some money to move up. I took my ukulele and my clothes. That's about it. That's all I had. I said, all right, shoot, let's give this a shot and go up there. So I worked for Intel, and as the digital technology started to progress, they started eliminating human, resources.
Right.
And so I could have moved to another job, but then I said, I'm not enjoying just the electronic side of things. I need to get music involved somehow. So while I was in Tempe, Arizona, I found the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences, and I said, all right, here's the next move. So enrolled, got into the program, finished the program, and moved on to an internship in Las Vegas, where at that point I was able to work with a composition team and a production team in a small studio that really were doing work all over Vegas for the show productions. So I got to bounce around at studios and live productions in Las Vegas. But all the time thinking, all right, when am I coming home? Just like Eric was saying, when am I bringing what I got now, my skill set, take it home and share it with everybody, and let's just get this thing moving. So at that point, I really, this is after maybe 2000, around 2000, I said, okay, it's time to go home. It's time to bring it back. While I was gone a couple of years, I didn't take any vacations, so at that time, I felt the drive. All right, it's time. So that entrepreneur in me called up my support system here locally, my parents, and said, I want to come home and I got this great idea about helping to develop the music industry. And at this time, my parents just saw me kind of just having fun with this, right? But they're willing to support what I was doing. So came home, ran my own company, audio production and studio work, until 2010 when I was contacted by Mele, and I didn't know what Mele was. Actually, I did, because in Governor Lingo's State of Address, she talked about this Mele program, and I needed funding, right? So I took that idea and said, oh my goodness, this Mele is great. And I thought it was just about me. I could use this to leverage, my movement now in my personal business. But what had happened is that Keala Chalk was the actual director of the program at that time. He's helped with Eric start it up. He called me and said, hey, are you still doing that engineering thing? And I said, yeah. He said, why don't you come down? So went through that process, and wow, then I learned about Mele. And from that point on, it's been a great ride, and it still is. And it's really something that's been valuable and important to me.
I have seen a lot of studios, guys, and a lot of production studios where you have all the soundboards and all that stuff. Yours is amongst the best I've seen in North America. It rivals what Nashville has, right, at Belmont, which is one of the best in North America. I'm talking about Nashville, one of the biggest, the hub of country recording music. And you guys have something similar. You even have some type of affiliation with Belmont, don't you?
Yeah, so just a little history behind the Mele program. When Mele first started, we basically partnered up with Belmont University to share the curriculum. So rather than create something out of scratch, why not partner up with an institution that's been really successful at it for 25, 30 years? So the partnership with Belmont was actually a natural fit in the sense of that they're so heartwarming in Nashville. It's almost like if the Aloha spirit got transferred from Nashville to Hawaii. So it's that same feeling of helping one another, and it's just a great fit. So initially, when the first classes that I taught were taught over a live feed, and this feed actually would be with a teacher in Nashville with about 20 students, and there's us in Honolulu, about 10 students. So you now have a class of 30 students going back and forth via this live feed, and it was always interesting to see when our students saw the Nashville kids and they're walking in with their heavy coats and their book bags, and the Nashville kids see us with skateboards and tank tops, and it's always a great conversation starter for a good 5 minutes of class because you're trying to figure out how's the weather. And that's how classes were, this continuous feed for about 3 years before we started actually teaching the classes individually as instructors.
And you were involved as one of the original.
I was the first lecturer that was hired for the MELE program, and it actually started, I wasn't looking for it. So the background behind that was I worked for a local record company, and at the time, about 2004 to 2006, things were pretty good. You know, you're going to release parties, people were selling thousands of CDs, and something happened in the industry that affected everyone that had to do with physical CD sales, and that was the closure of Tower Records. And at the time in Honolulu, we had a Tower Records in Pearl Kai, a Tower Records in Awana, Kemoku, and in Kahala Mall. And this was the largest income source for the record companies. And when Tower basically closed out, these companies had to struggle to figure out how to make more money in the industry now that it's not sufficient with CDs. So I was actually in a state of flux, going between working 40 hours and then getting it dwindled down to 20 hours to 10. And now I was just scrambling to find work in this industry that I loved. And I opened up the midweek one day and I see a full-page ad about the MELE program. And I thought to myself, this is great. You know, I could be a guest speaker for this program. So I contacted the program, spoke with Keala Chalk, who was the coordinator at the time, and he invited me over to see what the MELE program was about. And I found out that they had no instructors for the program, so they hired me on the spot as their first instructor of music business.
Really?
So I met with the chancellor, I met with the deans of the divisions, and filled out an application. Half an hour later, and in 2 days, started classes.
Wow.
So that was my story, my journey of how I became the first MELE lecturer.
Awesome.
I have to say, Eric, that the story of the MELE program is still small compared to walking in there and seeing that studio.
Yeah.
For all of you at home, I'm sure you've seen pictures of studios where this guy is sitting in front of a big board and there's lots of buttons and everything, and the recording artist is behind the glass. Here, it is the studio itself, where all of the buttons are, is probably 5 to 10 times the size you see on TV. And they have multiple rooms for the artist to play in. They have a special room where the artist can play and sing by himself. They have another big room. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what you've built over there, which is world class. There's no doubt about it. And world class artists are coming to your studio to record music. But you have used this as an educational tool.
That's
and
correct.
so far, that's what it is. Until Make 'Em Smile.
Yeah.
And tell us what is going on that Make 'Em Smile was a catalyst to.
Well, one of the challenges, you know, we do have a great facility, we have a great curriculum, but it's bridging that gap, you know, in today's world of education and the real world life experiences.
Of music.
Of music, yeah.
Can you hold that thought, John?
Yeah.
We've got to have a short break. I'm going to let you guys think of what the answer is, and then as soon as we get back from the break, you can fill us in. Because I think it's very, very important for people to understand how the music business has changed from your level. Last week we had, when we had Bobby Pelegi here, we saw how it's changed dramatically from the artist side, how they can't rely on CD sales, for instance. So now we're going to hear it from the production side. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. We are going to be back in a minute. I'm here with John Vierra and Eric Lagrimas from the MELE program at the University of Hawaii. My name is Seymour Kazimirski. You're at Seymour's World on ThinkTech Hawaii.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. That's Liz Shue. We co-host Agritech in the Islands every other Monday, 4 to 5 p.m. here on the ThinkTech series. We love agriculture and aquaculture and of every kind and nature. And we bring in guests who can teach us such fantastic scientific things. What do you think, Liz?
I think it's cool, so we can grow more local food for local people.
All right, come here, 4 to 5 p.m. ThinkTech, Agritech in the Islands, every other Monday. We'll see you then.
See you. Aloha.
Hi, welcome back to Seymour's World. I'm Seymour Kazimirski at ThinkTech Hawaii. We're here with the Mele program. Probably most of you have never heard of it, but the music industry in Hawaii is very, very dependent on good production studios. And the Mele program at the University of Hawaii at Honolulu Community College is amongst the best in the world, and I'm saying in the world. So we are here with two of the biggest instructors, and you guys are the head honchos, let's face it, of this program. And I love to talk to you because I walk in there and I know that these students start trembling when they see you coming into the you know, when they're there working and everything, and you guys walk in. So we ended up the last segment talking about the music business and what has happened. You were talking, John, about what's changed.
You know, so through this change, and Eric really can dive in deeper, but in the big picture of all of this and why Mele is important is that it's a support mechanism, to this change within the industry. And one of the components is, you know, beyond just education, is how do we now have students apply their skills, the content that they're learning, you know, that's going to transition now into the real world of production and you know, working with real artists. So with Make 'em Smile, you know, the ability to bring in professional musicians that are out there in the community and integrate with our students is amazing.
So your students had, when we first walked in there, we said we're going to have 12 professional musicians coming in for 2 hours each, I think, to record 1 or 2 songs. And I said, can't they do that in 10 minutes? You know, 10 or 15 minutes? I had no idea the depth that you guys go to make a quality recording. It is absolutely incredible. And I learned so much about terms like mixing, and I don't mean a mixing bowl, you know. I mean real mixing of sounds of the music side, the voice side, or the vocal side, and different multiple instruments that are playing at the same time. And your students have to learn all that, right?
Yes. And the technical side of it, the business side of it, but also the human element, you know, because ultimately we're trying to get a message, we're trying to capture a message that needs to be shared with others, so it's that operation and that movement within a production studio or production environment that's really important, because we can't just be technical, because we know how musicians are and the creative artists. You have to be able to now kind of be able to morph between the
Eric,
technical.
how do you do that? Because we all know, we mentioned before the break that musicians are creative people. Don't expect them to be business people. But is part of your program preparing them for the outside world once they learn how to become production? What do they graduate with, first of all?
They basically get an AS degree in Mele, which is Music and Entertainment Learning Experience, but it's also the skill set that they focus on, which is their concentration, whether it's audio engineering or music business. And in my particular department, which is music business, not only does students have to take it in my major, but audio professionals or audio students also have to take the first entry-level class, so they know the basics of what makes the industry work. And I think that's one of the key things that we teach at Mele is understanding the income streams involved in this industry. And it's something that's not really talked about when you talk to an older generation musician in Hawaii, where it's just performing or CD sales. We talk about things like publishing and registering your copyrights, thinking about merchandising and branding. So it really now is creating this cross-trained professional, not just a specialist of your guitar or your drum. Now you can talk about marketing with an individual. You can go to an ad agency and talk about how you can pitch your music for a TV commercial. So the value of the Mele student is now this cross-trained professional that's ready to enter into this world of music and entertainment.
And he can go anywhere with
absolutely,
that degree.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you graduate with a Mele degree, you basically can go to Nashville, you could go to Chicago, you could go to New York, and work on any of those systems.
Well, what's important to understand about about Mele, Seymour, is that you know, we're not a rock and roll degree where we're just gonna only talk about music and only talk about production and only talk about performance. It really is laying the foundation. And why we choose this approach simply is we know technology is going to change. And if our students, our graduates, don't have a strong foundation in the business or the production side, when the wind blows out there, they're going to fall over and they won't be able to get up because we know the wind's going to blow when they get out there. So we allow, basically our pathways is into the industry after the 2-year program to get into the industry and work, or now to go on to a 4-year degree. So our students are required to take a pretty hefty amount of general ed requirements, speech, history, Hawaiian studies, math, English. So they now have this foundation after this 2 years to decide, all right, this is where I want to go, and they can attack it aggressively. So what we're doing is we're creating pathways through articulation agreements. We have an articulation agreement with University of Hawaii West Oahu in the creative media program. Now that helps us to diversify our program to cover now sound design, audio post-production, ADR, voiceover work. So we're expanding our program, on both the business and the engineering side of things. And again, as a solid foundation for the student now, the graduate, to choose, all right, I want to go to the mainland, I want to go international, I want to stay here locally. It's all great, and that's what we're creating here. And that's
I think it's wonderful, and obviously getting the word out through programs like Seymour's World and other programs that you do, it's critical because it's going to grow. It can only grow. Music has become such a big piece of our world today, and it's so available. So how do you produce it, right? How do you make that record, or how do you make that CD, or how do you send it over to the internet to be able to be played? That's what you guys have to do. Just wonderful. We'd like to show some pictures of the Mele studio and some of the other things that come up. So I'm going to ask Zuri, if you don't mind putting them up for us. Let's look at the first one if we can. Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, there you go. This is a good shot of Studio A with instructor Vierra here on the Rupert Neve 5088 design console. This is basically found in our Mele Mike Curb recording studios. Mike Curb, who's a donor to the program, has the naming rights to the studio because of his generous contribution to the program, which enabled us to actually build this studio. So this is one of our centerpieces of the Mele program, and when people walk into it, they're totally blown away because we are the only facility in the UH system that has this facility, and we're really proud of it.
And of course, you could see from that shot alone how big it is, and there's more to it than that. That's just that front section. Never mind the 2 side sections. Let's see the next one.
This right here is one of our graduating classes. I believe this is 2013. I got some prominent graduates here in this shot. And again, our graduates range from a wide variety. We have one who's a producer right now, one who's working for radio, one who's actually in artist relations at an ukulele manufacturer, one who's actually in a college on the mainland. So again, as instructor Vierra was saying earlier, that we're creating pathways for these individuals, whether it's working here in the local industry or seeking further education.
No, imagine Seymour, taking a look at that picture. I mean, we got a bunch of characters in our program. They're all, it's lively, so.
Well, they're musicians, a lot of them, right? A lot of them are actually musicians that want to learn about the basics of music and how to produce it. I mean, we have one guy who plays for Make 'Em Smile. I love him. His name is Aaron Domingo, and he's a graduate of your program.
Yes, he is.
And he said, thanks to the Mele program, he was able to get into Belmont.
That's right.
And Belmont itself, of course, is a big one. And he just thought it was the greatest thing to help him in his music career. Let's go back to that last one if we can, Zuri.
I think this was our last graduating class this past spring. So again, I can see students who transferred over to a 4-year, one who actually picked up his bags and moved to Portland, Oregon. So this is a very cool picture. It's always cool seeing our graduating classes.
Now, are there any women in that, or are you an equal opportunity employee?
We're trying, Seymour. We're trying.
What's going on? What's the next one, Zuri?
This is instructor Vierra and I at this year's Hoku workshop. So the Hawaii Academy of Recording Arts is one of our strong supporters. They're the the industry trade group here in Hawaii, and every year they ask us to be part of their educational panels, and we've gladly obliged, and just sharing more things about the program, and also educating veterans and seasoned pros out there that there's some room for you in Melee, whether it's through some non-credit programming or classes that we teach.
How do you fund Melee? How is Melee funded right now?
Melee initially was through a Title III grant funded, along with private donors and investors stepping up. And currently, we have donors of the program that are supporting. In fact, we're sending 4 students to Nashville in November, along with Instructor Lagrimas here, to attend the Curb Creative Connection kickoff event. Now, this is the schools that Mike Curb has supported, and helped to develop these programs. We're all going to come together. 4 students, 4 representatives from each campus is coming to Nashville.
And one is from Hawaii.
4 are from
4
Hawaii.
students, that's
4.
correct, that's correct.
So it's to create with Jim Ed Norman, who's the co-founder of the Melee program, who is in Nashville with Curb Records. It's an organization that's going to be student-driven and alumni-driven of these programs, so that once they're all complete with, they've completed their degrees, their education, they still have a network now with all of the other Curb graduates.
Let's look at the last 2 pictures that we have before we have to take the next break.
This is, let's see, one of our graduates, Noah Cronin, who is right there next to John Vierra, with his first artist, Sammy J. And this is an artist that Noah discovered online, and he has now have a fruitful career as his producer, and they recently got picked up by Universal Music in Australia.
Noah's been traveling to Australia, to New Zealand, with Sammy J, his artist.
You guys must be so proud.
It's amazing.
We're really proud of these guys,
Yeah.
And this is one of our outreach events that we've done at the state capitol. This is for the celebration of the 50 years of the community colleges in Hawaii. This is a picture with Governor Abercrombie visiting the Melee booth with our students, Che and Amy.
This program that you have, it is truly a hidden diamond inside UH, because how many people know about it? Even the musicians who we brought in from Make 'em Smile, only a few of them had heard of Melee program. And a lot of them, like Johnny Helm, they want to get more involved. They want to understand what makes a good production, what makes a good record, what makes a good sound. So I think, by putting it out the way you are today, it's going to bring more people into your program, people who will want to understand the basics of music rather than just playing their guitar at a gig somewhere.
Well,
I think it's critical.
A major transition, in all this transition was happening, is, the people who don't understand yet where music is happening. If iPhones, smart pads, smartphones, what we're trying to do is really educate the community as a whole, not just musicians, not just producers, not just engineers, but the community as a whole, to understand that audio and video, creative media, is just going crazy right now. It's not the same world it was 10 years ago. And Melee is smack dab in the middle of this, as a hub, as a safe place to learn, and as a place to talk story, to throw on ideas, both from the professional community, our graduates, and our current students. We're also working with K-12 programs to start the education process earlier. So once they understand what's going on out there in our industry, they see the pathways sooner than later.
That's excellent. Now, Eric, how do you prepare them for the real world?
Well, basically, every Melee student has to take a class called Melee 101. And Melee 101 is the class that basically says, here's everything about the industry. Now, you can pick and choose what you feel you need, but at the same time, they see a lot of things that they never saw, they didn't realize actually exist. And this is where it comes down to understanding how the music industry makes money. So when you actually break it down and understand the income streams that are involved, then you get a greater sense of where do I fit in this entire scheme of things.
We saw that with one of your students. He obviously is now working with an artist, and he's producing his material.
Exactly.
I think that's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. We got to take a short break, and then I want to get back to the Melee program as how it makes money. or if it makes money. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm Seymour Kazimirski at Seymour's World. We're here with John Vierra and Eric Lagrimas from the Melee program at the University of Hawaii.
Aloha, welcome to ThinkTech Hawaii. My name is Josh Green. I'm the host of a program called Healthcare in Hawaii. I'm a physician. I work in the emergency department on the Big Island. I also serve in the state senate, which, please don't hold that against me, doesn't detract from my television program. We speak about all the big healthcare issues in the state. We get together on Tuesdays from 2 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we try to talk about the most important issues in healthcare. This is a terrific venue for people to learn about healthcare. There are many programs on this station. We broadcast it later, not just on the internet, but also on OC16. Thanks for joining us. Please be informed healthcare consumers.
Hi, I'm Seymour Kazimirski. Welcome back to Seymour's World at ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm just thrilled that we have John Vierra and Eric Lagrimas from the Melee program at UH. These guys have helped my program, the Make 'em Smile program, in getting our CD out. And I'm just, I'm wondering, because you guys didn't charge me a penny for what would have been a $50,000 production to be able to get a CD out with all the artists' work and all that stuff. And you said, no, we'll do it. And you did it basically because you were giving experience, real live time experience to your graduates, right? We use mostly graduates, I think.
A combination.
of both, yeah.
Okay, a combination.
Yeah.
But they were experts. I mean, they knew how to do the mixing and all that stuff. You still had to do a lot of the work, John. But at the same time, that's it. So does the program make money? Does it have a commercial side to it?
Yeah, the program doesn't have a commercial side to it, but doesn't mean we don't do commercial work. So basically what happens is, through education, we want to give students obviously opportunity to work on real world time frames, under the pressure of the clock, under the pressure of deadlines. And how we do that, or let me talk about why we don't do commercial work. The reason we don't is because we're trying to get our graduates out into the industry to get work. So what happens is, because of our facilities, and our funding and our support, we do have a rare facility on these islands.
It's state of the art.
Yeah, it's state of the art. And we don't want to take away business from our local industry. So that we stay away from utilizing the studio as a commercial money maker, because although it would help the program, at the same time, it's going to take away business from the studios that are out there that are struggling to stay alive in this economy. So what we do is we partner up with nonprofit organizations, organizations that are gonna support the community, support the industry, and not just the music industry, but whatever industry that organization its mission is, So we're working with American Diabetes Association of Hawaii. We have professional musicians in the industry coming in and donating now any profits from the work that we do to nonprofit or not-for-profit organizations. So most of our funding, though, comes from private donors to the program through the University of Hawaii Foundation, and so it is tough to run a program, but we think that we're doing a great community service.
Well, I'll give you an example. We originally were talking about producing 2,000 CDs, you remember, for the Make 'em Smile program. When I spoke to the people at the Good Morning America show, they said, that'll last about 10 minutes. We need to have at least 10,000 ready to roll. And that is going to be $100,000 that's going to be given to local charities, and they're all the hospitals that we participate in. So when we spoke to Kapiolani, and we spoke to Shriners and Kaiser and Rehab, and they all said, this is wonderful. They'll be able to get, besides getting the Make 'em Smile program, they'll get the money from the CD sales.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which I think is just fabulous.
That's awesome.
So what you're doing, you're not just teaching, you are contributing to the economy here in Hawaii. You're also helping hospitals, in my case, helping hospitals or the American Diabetes, whatever it may be.
Seymour, we do have to appreciate Honolulu Community College, because Honolulu Community College is allowing the Melee program to function this way. And, even bigger than us is the college itself, because Honolulu Community College is offering a variety of programs that all support the local economy, the community. Just in the Kalihi area, putting on events with through education.
That's great.
So we're just a component of that, you know. And yes, we are the music and entertainment learning experience on campus. And yes, we want the attention. Yes, we want to develop bigger and greater events that attract more people. But really, where it's coming from is a mission of our college is to support. We're the little ship, you know. The bigger campuses are the large ship. But when it's time to turn left and make an adjustment, it takes some time. With Honolulu Community College and the Melee program, we're watching the trends of the industry, particularly our industry, and we're moving right along with it. Yeah, and that's
Cool.
valuable because our students now are in line. We would never do or teach anything or any application that now, hey, wait a minute, it doesn't work that way. Like Eric was saying, physical CD sales, Tower Records. Our students don't even know what Tower Records
Right,
is.
True.
because it's
That's
before
true.
They
time.
imagine this huge tower, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Do you see video coming into the Melee program?
That's to be part of the audio post aspect.
Yeah.
That'll be wonderful.
Yeah. So.
And then I have to add something else to it, just to give something far-reaching. Virtual reality is coming very, very quickly.
Yes,
Oculus,
yes.
you know, the company
Yep.
Oculus, that was just bought out for some billions of dollars
Yeah,
by, I think it was Microsoft, or if it wasn't Microsoft, anyway, one of the big guys bought it,
Right.
and they want to do virtual reality music production,
Yeah,
so that people
yeah.
can put on glasses and
Well,
think that they're dancing with
And
it.
we expand our thinking here. So again, we say that we teach our students all the fundamentals. But when we look at game audio, video game audio.
Mhm.
We look at animation, We look at all these areas: film, documentary, audiobooks. You know, anything that has video, for the most part needs audio and music.
Right.
So how this ties into a musician is, all right, if there's a film that's happening and we're doing audio post-production, we need music now to be integrated into that.
Mm.
So that's where now our working musicians, have another opportunity to
They
create
can make some money
revenue.
too,
And that's
right?
exactly what
Things
the
with synchronization licenses, hiring musicians to actually compose a score. So there's also a business side to all of this as well. You know, it's not just music. There's also the components of business.
How
that
many
support
students do you have, Eric?
Right now, the first semester, I would say new students about 50.
50. And what we
Yes.
saw there before, there were just like a handful of
Yeah,
guys when you started, right?
as the first semester is usually our big cattle call, and slowly as we go through the semester, it gets whittled down to about, I'd say about 15 to 18 or so.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That actually graduate
Yeah. Yes.
from a program that they can
Yeah.
take and one of my biggest, we talked about this before the show. I'm very upset when I see kids graduate from a 4-year school and don't know what they want to do with themselves and have no skills as to how to look for a job and do that stuff. What you guys are doing is absolutely preparing them in a specific industry to go out and get a job.
Yes.
And it's wonderful.
And with that too, Seymour, you know, we're offering our students a primary skill set in the content we teach, and the things that we do. But we also understand that there has to be a secondary skill set of some kind, that maybe comes from the student themselves, you know, that can help to support, because now we know we're also not trying to pigeonhole our graduates to say this is what you do and this is all you do. We're giving you that foundation and that skill set, but you take that skill set now and you integrate it into other areas if you want. We have a student who graduated from the Miller program, the audio engineering track, and she went into fashion in San Francisco.
Wow.
So now she can integrate her experience in audio along with fashion. How does she do that? I don't know, but there's
She's
that
obviously
pride.
using it,
She's using it.
She's
Yeah.
using
That's
it,
wonderful.
Yeah. So things like that. Yeah. I mean.
So, you know, tell me about the program itself. Obviously has good things, bad things. Tell me about some of the best experiences that you've had. Eric,
Well,
you
let me start because I was the first instructor.
Yeah,
that
I
was
can
hired on.
imagine.
So,
Let's hear.
the classroom that you saw,
Yes.
it did not look like that in 2007. You
Okay.
know, it was basically an old computer lab for networking. So we had no window treatment, so it's just the sun blaring at you. I think my desk was a sink. You know, so but you have to make do, and I think if you believe in something and there's enough buy-in, you don't care where you actually learn this stuff. And I think at the time, it was fun actually helping to build and develop this facility to what it is now that you're able to see, and building a vocal booth, trying to build that studio console, console together was amazing. Taking it out of the crate in this flatbed truck
Yeah.
and getting a crowbar and actually rolling up your sleeves and working towards something bigger than what it is. So those are some of my stories. There were a lot of sweat. There's some blood. But for the most part, just see the growth of putting together this magnificent
I think
facility.
anytime you take a baby and it becomes your own baby,
Yeah.
and you start it from scratch
Yeah.
the way you did,
Yeah.
and you see where it is now,
Yeah.
there's a great amount of pride
Oh, yeah.
that comes in from really taking a business as an embryo in your mind and saying, I want this thing to grow into something.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you see it mushroom like a flower,
Right,
opens up, and
right.
wow. I mean, I was so shocked when we had all of your graduates working on the Make 'em Smile, and these guys loved it, and they stayed late hours to do it.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
called their bosses from where their other
Yeah,
studios.
yeah, right.
Do you mind if we stay? We have to
Yep.
finish up. That is commitment that comes because of what you had done for them, Eric. You have given them that sense of value that the Melee program
Yes.
gives
Oh, yeah.
to so many students.
Yes.
So you did a great job. What about you,
Yeah.
John?
You know, funniest moments when I first started at Melee. So Eric was already there, and
This kid,
Kalachok.
this
yeah,
17-year-old
he's
was
already
your
there,
boss,
and I,
yeah.
you know, and there, then Kalachok was, you know, Kalachok is an integral part of all of this, in kicking it off. And he's now a dean with the Tech One transportation
Wow.
at the college. So anyway, I come to the picture 2010, right? I got this round table as a desk, and I'm trying to figure these guys out. And I'm just, you know, after the first couple of days, I'm like, these guys are nuts. What's this program? This program is crazy. And then I said, yeah, this
Oh,
program is crazy.
like-
you know,
that made
yes,
sense to you,
It
huh?
made sense to me. And you know, working with these guys is really been the greatest thing because we complement each other. Our personalities are same but different enough. Our backgrounds are different enough. But so when we come together, talk about fun. If we had a GoPro or a hidden camera somewhere just catching, we'll both be on our
Everything was,
computers,
yeah.
and all of a sudden one of us will throw out something just out of the blue. And we'll just latch on, and then we start going. And because, you know, we are rigid a lot of times in education, it becomes, you know, you have to be focused on deadlines and time frames and all the work that is involved. But you got to release, and we're able to have a good time, you know, kind of making fun of ourselves at times. You know, we do a lot of events. We go out there, and sometimes we're winging it, you know, because we're still trying to figure this out. And we just laugh at each other.
I'm still winging it
right?
on this show. I have no idea what I'm doing.
I mean, I can imagine what we're doing. We take a look back at this, and we're
Yeah.
like, you know.
Well, I have to
But-
tell you guys, it's so nice to be able to look at a university program that is fun. You know, a lot of them are pretty cut and dried, political science, history, and all that sort of stuff. Your program, music, obviously, is something that everybody loves. And to see you teach, not just music, but to teach how music is made.
Yeah, well,
is
let me chime
such-
in real quick, Seymour,
Yeah,
about,
please.
you know, talk about, you know, history and little the drier topics. What we're also doing with Melee is making it fun for what we do, but we're also saying, hey, you need to take this class because in the long term, you're gonna be better off.
Good
So
for you.
let's find a way to make that fun. And how do you now bring that enjoyment, that passion in what you do for the Melee program? It can extend a little. You know, it doesn't have to be just us. You know, we on campus are trying to really just open up our students' minds and our minds to get involved with all the areas of education.
I like that.
You know?
I like it, and I like the idea that the University of Hawaii and Honolulu Community College are supporting a program that's very singularly devoted to the music business, because that is going to be a business that Hawaii can work with.
Yeah,
That's one of those
absolutely.
businesses. We can produce artists here in
Yes,
Hawaii.
yes,
We can
yes.
produce a lot of music here in Hawaii, but without a studio like yours, without the education that you are providing for young people to get into the industry, we're not going to be able to do
Correct,
it. So
right,
I
correct.
commend both of you on that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's the end of our program.
Oh, is it?
So I thank you both very much for coming today. Such a pleasure to learn more about the Melee program and to let our audience understand an amazing program that's given by the University of Hawaii just for the music industry. It is absolutely fantastic. And people can contact you. We've put your email addresses
Yes,
on,
okay.
so people will be able to contact you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Seymour.
Seymour.
You're very welcome. Next week, I will not be here. I will be in China next week, but I'm hoping to do a feed with Jay Fidel, and we'll do a Skype conference with Sherry Lim. Sherry Lim is one of China's largest game producers. She has 180 million subscribers to her game modules in China. She promised me we're going to do it, and we will try to make sure that you guys get to see it next week. I wish you all well. Aloha. My name is Seymour Kazimirski, Seymour's World at ThinkTech Hawaii.